around when we were a actor. We acted in a movie called Twins Mission in 2006. Luckily, we were able to work with our idol Sammo Hung. We grew up with his films. At one point, when the films wrapped, we of course we asked him for an autograph, and then we had a DVD. Eastern Condor was one of our favorite movies. When he's staring at the DVD cover, he signed, "We can't make this kind of film anymore." Not only because there's a budget restraint, there's no successors. It hardly seemed to have a youngster who has the same kind of skills as they do used to be, and pass on the tradition as an action celebrity. It's hard to come by nowadays. So that inspired us to tell a unsung hero story. Back in the 80s, there's a lot of stuntmen who created the phenomena where the whole world knows small little place, city, Hong Kong, its culture and everything because of cinema. So as you can see how important it is, filmmaking is for a culture to able to spread around the world. And because of that, we realized, hey, maybe we should write a screenplay about Hong Kong stuntmen. A lot of those stunt performer, you don't even know who he is. His face not shown. And they helped to build that platform for Hong Kong cinema, which is very important. And the way we see it, it's been going downhill. It's a loss to us. It's like it's a valuable culture thing for us to preserve. Yeah, that's what inspired us to make this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we had several candidates that we thought of. Obviously, Sammo Hung would be a good choice, but I think due to his age and due to his health, we didn't think it would be a good choice because toward the end of the film, we want him to be able to jump from a 6-story high. And then we were thinking about, what about Tong Wai? Other than he has a lot of experience in the field, if you remember Enter the Dragon,
yes,
he had a scene with Bruce Lee.
Yes, now in the
yes. Don't look at my finger, or you will miss the heavenly glory. So we were thinking about that. What if after 40-50 years we bring Stephen and Bruce Lee on the same screen? Of course, Bruce Lee is no longer here, but we know there's a statue in Tsim Sha Tsui in Hong Kong. It's an iconic figure because he's the person who really brought Hong Kong action film to the international market. And Tong Wai, he started his career when he was like 15 or 16. He has seen the up and downs, and obviously right now the industry is like at the trough. So it meant a lot to, I think, not only us but fans around the world who's really into the kung fu genre, and he is still be able to do some action. So we thought he would be a perfect candidate.
And because the film we want to portray is a reflection of what the current Hong Kong cinema landscape, and having that up and down representation, up and down, it's very important. As he said, Bruce Lee's very iconic figure that represent Hong Kong action cinema.
The glory days.
The glory days, but Tong Wai, he had experienced the good days and the bad days. So that's a symbolic of that. I mean, having a small detail here and there to imply the significance of Hong Kong cinema history. It's in the back of our mind. For example, the first scene, it's basically a tribute to Police Story.
Police Story, yes.
Yeah, and then but for art direction, we did tell our art director, production designer, how we want to portray the world of those posters. If it was being performed by Sammo Hung, if Sammo Hung is acting Sam, then we'll definitely ask him whether we can have the copyright to put his old movie poster. But because Steven, he used to be an actor, but he went behind the camera very early on in his career, so he doesn't have a representation of his own movie. And also because this is a movie funded by the government, the budget is quite limited. It's really difficult for us to purchase copyright for existing 80s. If we have budget, we definitely want to do that.
There are combinations of, from my own experience and also from others. For example, the gun scene, like the gun sequence with the robbery jewelry shop, yes. Those happens back, in the 90s, in the 80s. But obviously, we kind of took that scene and time traveled to the current year, and just to reminiscence how crazy it was back in those days. But this is really for dramatize the characters' emotions and all that. It doesn't really apply to nowadays.
Yeah, but it's also help us to tell the story from Sam's point of view. Yeah. We want to portray Sam as obsolete. The way of working is different nowadays. You can't just bring it back because he has been out of the industry, the character out of the industry for quite 30 years, and now suddenly he comes back. Of course, he will carry that traditions of way of working, which no longer work for current days filmmakers. That's why he lost control in the middle of the film. The crew just don't listen to him. Like, don't shout at me. I don't work like that.
And on top of that, not only the way of working, but also his mentality, his ego being challenged. You will see the first half of the film is really about how Sam cope with his ego being challenged. Where is his dignity? I think it applies to a lot of old-timers, and as well, from my own experience, we started out as an actor, and we had the opportunity to work with great superstars like Sammo Hung or Wu Jing. But then after the film, we kind of wind back to be special appearance or even extra, sort of like backtracking. But we were so desperate to get back to the film industry. We tried all different ways, and some of those ways really challenge our ego or what we have done in the past, in a way that we have to check our ego out the door in order for us to move on. And that is the kind of the personal experience we project onto Sam's character. How does he going to move on from, doesn't matter how well he achieved in the past. And also the choice of pursuing the dream and versus reality. We project our experience onto Long's character as a younger generation. Like, the future is murky. We don't know whether the film industry is going up or further going down, but how are we going to survive? I have to say, since Matrix and in the late 90s, many tier 1 stunt choreographer or action choreographer. They moved on to Hollywood, to Europe, to expand their career. In some ways, the rest of the world already become the successors of Hong Kong action genre. But the sad thing is the place where it all started never finds successors. There are many reasons why that happened. First of all is the market. As the neighboring market like Korea, Thailand, or even Malaysia, the action genre keeping improving and chasing, getting better and better. Hong Kong kind of stayed where it was. And when the tier 1, tier A action choreographer moved abroad, it's kind of like nobody is at home to train the new blood. And in a way, as the market shrink due to the financial landscape, that's why we don't have successors. So I know stuntmen from America and UK, they actually travel to Hong Kong, still have the impression that Hong Kong is still the place for stunts. But when they arrive, they find, there's no work, there's no movie happening. It's kind of sad. And when you actually look back to America, they have a very well systematic of recruiting stuntmen. You need to hit certain criterias. You gotta obtain certain license, stunt car driving, fire, back horse riding, taekwondo, whatever it is. It's very systematic. Whereas Hong Kong, there's nothing.
It's still not governed by a system, license to prove that you meet certain requirements. So in Hong Kong, it's just like, you have a, let's say, sifu, right? Or a veteran able to sign on a piece of paper saying, you're legit, now you can work for me, just have like 3 signatures or 2 signatures, whatever it is, then Hong Kong Stunt Association will, okay, now you're a part member, just pay your member fee. It's that simple, but even though, entering into the association is not that difficult, it's hard to find successors. As I said last night, youngster, you gotta make a living. How many films are there for you to build your career? Maybe sometimes you get a call, hey, there might be potentially a film coming in next month. Okay, should I block my calendar? Let's say I did, and then like 2 days before the shoot, it's gone.
It's like canceled.
What do I do? I gotta make a living. That's why, as I said, like youngster have like 2-3 jobs just to stay afloat. Then stunt become a part-time job.
And because of that, the skill set of Hong Kong stuntmen comparatively to the UK, America or Australia, their skills level are like right here. But whereas the US, UK, they're like up here. I guess unless the industry is able to
change, it's hard to change because in America you show up on the day of with a basic salary. When you do a stunt, there's an adjustment. There's an adjustment increment. Let's say a high fall, I'll give you another $3,000, for example, right? Hong Kong, flat rate, 2005. All you can jump, all you can fight, or you can fall straight 8 hours. Anything but on 8 hours is 1.5 times your usual rate. So it's not very attractive. So
in order to be able to sustainable as an industry, I think the key thing is the volume of work need to be able to sustain the industry itself.
And one of the big factor is Hong Kong movies used to be able to sell overseas. In Asia, Europe, I don't know about North America back then, but back in the days, Hong Kong itself, the city itself, the population is too small. So the film has to travel overseas. But now, as he said, neighbor regions has their own film, like Indonesia, right? Thailand have their own action stars. You can't compete with that unless your stuff is all the way up there. Given the fact that, why would neighboring territory need to purchase your film? Yeah, they can make their own,
Yeah. I think in both ways. We want to juxtapose how it was done in the past through Sam's point of view, and then how the current stuntman view the industry. As we were saying, we all shoot smaller films, less budgets. We all have multiple jobs. Whereas Sam in the old days, this is all I do. This is my
career. Basically.
This is my career. This is my professionalism. So he was striving for perfection. Whereas the new generation, we just get by, just get my pay,
stay afloat.
So it's a survival mode where he is looking for the art. We're not necessarily promoting or celebrating the danger, but I think it's the mentality. As I was saying last night, are you willing to sacrifice or willing to take risk to strive for something you really want? I think this is what we are trying to portray between Sam and Leung. It can be easily seen as younger generations because no matter how much hard work I put forth in my work, the reward is not equivalent. Whereas in my parents' era, when
baby
boomers, when they work, they get paid, they can purchase a house, car, not so much as for our generations, because after I graduate from university, we're still struggling to find a job. But that's not how we were told when we were kids. My mom would say, "Oh, you graduate from university, you get a job, you're all set." When we graduate, that's not the reality we know. So it's completely different. But because of that, it was too hard to survive. A lot of young people would just
give up.
Nah, we'll just do the bare minimum. That's it. But then you will never get great work out of it. So I think this film we're trying to inspire people that no matter how difficult it is in the future, you need to have that fire, that passion inside. And that's why Sam has this dialogue. No matter how big the wind is, you keep the flame alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love the ideas.
Actually, there's still risk. You have seen it. The car flip.
Oh yeah.
There's still risk.
Yeah. I think with the CGI, it makes more creative choice, I would say, and not limited to just what is possible physically in the real world. Back in the days, they don't know whether it works, so they try. But now, there's a lot more planning involved, so the possibility are endless. You can see in like Marvel movies. Not necessarily everything is CG, but there is a combination of real action and CG. It's how you use it. It's only a tool. And I think nowadays audience are more lenient toward the real stuff because they have seen too much CGI. They kind of like fatigue. And a question, yeah.
How to keep
how to keep that action
movies.
Yeah.
How to keep the action movie audience are looking for the real stuff nowadays. So I think we just have to keep on shooting, because you have seen the Twilight Warriors, Walled City. It's a big hit, meaning audience are still thirst for original action movies. So that's a good sign. Yes. I think it's a kind of like a egg or chicken question, because if we don't have audience to go to theater, investor will not invest money, because producing an action movie takes a lot of money. When we shoot a day of action, after editing, maybe only 30 seconds on screen. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to produce like a 2 hours movie, action movie. And like Herbert and I right now, we are looking for ways to do action movie in a lower budget and a middle budget. So we were thinking story must be the main thing, and action is only a supplement, because you can't just have fighting from the first minute to 120 minutes because of the budget limitation.
But I think like
reduction.
yeah, for AI at the moment is still restricted to what is being inputted and what is being already created. So it's not creating anything new except what has been created at this moment. So and I do believe for it's still required a human to come up with anything new, haven't seen before.
I mean, a lot of studio like what has been done before, because for like financial purposes,
For forecasts.
it's safe. So you've seen a lot of Hollywood movie doing the same thing over and over again.
And it fails.
So from a studio perspective, they might like it, but for general audience and filmmakers who like really strive for creativity, not so much. And I think box office can really tell the studio that people really want new stuff, not they have seen for the past 30 years.
Yeah, and film becomes a different medium, I think, because of content consumption behavior has changed. People who want fast food entertainment, they will go to YouTube or those short drama, vertical short drama. Versus film nowadays, I would think only film buffs would go, it's like listening to vinyl. Or right now people are strive for cassette tape. It's the same thing. It's like retro art. So it's filmmaking is no longer or cinema no longer a entertainment for general audiences. They could find that stimulation elsewhere. So for filmmakers, I think we have to be very meticulous on the subject matter, emotional experience. I think that is more important than just entertainment. I think we right now, because of many different reasons, you can't really label it's a Hong Kong movie unless it is made in Hong Kong, right? But in some ways, I agree and disagreed. For an example, if a European film director got hired to shoot a movie in Hollywood, does that consider a Hollywood movie, or does that consider a European movie? But the creator is a European, so it's how you see it. You can't really say it's Hong Kong movies just because the director is a Hong Kongese. It may be financially financed or shot in mainland China.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say it's Asian film or Chinese film. Doesn't matter, it's mainland China or made in Taiwan or made in Southeast Asia. It's a Chinese movie. I would put it that way.
My perspective is for the past 10-15 years, Hong Kong movies more focus on social issues.
Yes.
You've seen, and I've heard a lot of people from film art film markets around the world saying they don't want to purchase Hong Kong film because they can't sell. They only shoot small films that people dying or get sick or whatnot.
Yes.
I think we what Herbert and I trying to do is what if we bring back more low budget and mid-tier budget of action film. I think it's going to be a long journey to change the perceptions of film buyers. You need to have sufficient number of films crawling outside of the drama kind of type of films. So it's a long journey. I hope it will change.
Yes, we're developing several screenplays. Yeah, and we are hopefully that project will materialize. Yeah, there's an action film, like we got hired to direct an action film, but hopefully that will. Yeah.